So, we are getting closer and closer to Halloween Horror Nights, and I know everyone's going to be rolling their eyes like, fuck, another Halloween Horror Nights video. And I'm like, whatever. We still haven't got a lot. We just got a third speculation map, and really only the announcement of 2 haunted houses, Chucky and The Last of Us. And it's not the TV show, it's the video game. But we're not here to talk about, like, speculation houses. For this video, we're going to be talking about 10 10 monsters that I would love to see at HHN. So we're gonna kind of go through that. This is not gonna be like a top 10 list. This is just more of like 10 monsters, both IP and non-IP. I would love to see at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. It's just kind of that. They may come from anime. They may come from video game. It may be just a bunch of ideas thrown into this. I just called it monsters, but really, it's more like just a mix of IP and other things. So, as always, if you want to have your list, just hit the link below. Not hit the link below. Just comment below and let me know what your 10 monsters you would love to see get haunted houses at Halloween Horror Nights, or be featured at Halloween Horror Nights in some capacity. I know we've all talked about this. We're going to do a little blue sky on this, but we're also going to be we're going to be pretty grounded too. So stuff like you would see from, we're not going to include Alien and Predator. I'm not going to include them because, or Hocus Pocus. I was very close to putting Hocus Pocus on here. But then I was like, well, Disney's never going to let them do that. Disney and Universal are the 2 top competitors right now. They are 2 dogs fighting for control. So there's no way they're just going to hand over there's no way in hell they're going to hand over, let them use Alien or Predator or Hocus Pocus, or let them do Simpson Treehouse of Horror, which they've been wanting to do for the longest time, but the buyout prevented them from doing that. So, anyway. So let's get started with the first one. So the first one we're going to talk about is an IP that is Warner Brothers, but Warner Brothers and Universal seem to have like a stable relationship in some extent. But for this, we're going to be talking about one that has never shown up. A lot of these are basically ones that have never shown up in any capacity. So for this, our first one is Gremlins. Now you may be thinking, well, Gremlins isn't really scary. Gremlins isn't really a scary IP. It's not really a scary monster. Do you remember the first movie? Also, just because it's not scary doesn't mean it could be like bring in the spooky vibes. Remember, Ghostbusters and Beetlejuice were both IPs that got haunted houses, and they were a lot of fun. They were like the fun houses of those years. They weren't scary, but they were aesthetically pleasing. They were very reminiscent of the movies, and I feel like it's something like a younger audience, or like someone who's like, this is their first Halloween Horror Nights, and this is the one, like, your friend is like, I don't know if I want to do this, and this is like your ease-in house. Like, come on, let's do like Gremlins. And could it be the difficulty would be the puppets themselves? Probably. That's kind of the one thing I think would be the problem is the puppets of using them. But Universal has been getting really good at using puppets, so I do see it. I just feel like trying to do it with those little miniature puppets would be a little bit of a problem. I do think one of the best scare actors for this would be, if you remember from the Gremlins movie, there's a scene where all the gremlins are like swarming this one guy in a Santa suit. So just imagine like popping out of the house and just be like, "Oh, help me!" Something like that. Like, I think that would really work. I really do think that would work. So, moving right along, just like in the Muppet song. So, moving to our next one, and this is more of an anime. Now, it does look like Demon Slayer is not going to be the focus. It looks like that was just a rumor. We're not going to get Demon Slayer for this, but it did open the door for like maybe an anime we could get in the future. And I do think with all of them, branching out and whatnot into other territory, Universal branching out into other territories to really play with, I do think it's a matter of time. And I do think it will be more of Halloween Horror Nights Japan that will get this first before we get in America. But for this, for my next pick, we're going with Helsing. as the next thing I'd love to see one day show up at Universal. Halloween Horror Nights would be a lot of fun. It'd be a perfect place. I think Helsing is a great mixture of action and horror, and has enough of a following and knowledge. It's it's an anime a lot of people know of. It's a great horror anime as well. I think you can do a lot with that with those characters. I do think it is a very popular IP, as well as something that could really bring in a lot of eyes. Like I said, this would probably be at Universal Studios Japan first, because obviously the anime influence and whatnot, and that studio is more known for doing stuff with anime IP than anything else. So there it is. So I think it would be there, but I would not be shocked if they one day said, "Yeah, we're going to do Helsing, and it's going to be in the States." So there you go. There's your so there's my so there you go, Helsing. So let's talk about our next one. Our next one is not an IP at all. But it's a monster I would love to see. It's a monster I would absolutely love to see, since we've had other cryptids as of late show up in here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is we've had Yeti. We've had the Yeti. We've had the Chupacabra. I think it's time to bring in the Mothman. And with the rumors of one of this year's houses being Bigfoot, I do think Mothman would be really cool. It wouldn't be an IP they would need to pay for. It's an in-public domain creature, and I really do think they could do some really cool things with the Mothman. I think they could do they've had haunted houses where the scare actors fly overhead. You could do really amazing things with the flashing eyes. You could really make the haunted house look like Point Pleasant in the 60s, and build up to the bridge coming down. Just kind of like that could be the story, is you're following the storyline of the not storyline, but all the witnesses of Point Pleasant leading up to the Mothman, the Mothman's inevitable sighting, and then following the destruction of the bridge. There you go. Like, you're following that whole thing. I think that would be really cool. So there you go. The Mothman. Following that, this would be a video game. This would be a video game IP, and since we are getting more video game ones, with Last of Us, we've had Silent Hill. I think this would be really cool. And it's not really a horror per se, but it definitely has enough horror elements where you could say, I think it could work. And that is BioShock. Yes, I know, I'm such a BioShock fan, I would totally allow this. It's cool. And yes, splicers are scary. You could totally make splicers scary. I think that you could really utilize a lot of Rapture, and they do really good set designs at Halloween Horror Nights. So I could see them just break the bank for recreating parts of Rapture. And also a Big Daddy scare actor coming at you. That'd be so cool. I think it would be a very beautiful design. I think they would really kind of try to capitalize on trying to make you feel like you're underwater and being scared by these splicer scare actors. Following that is another video game IP, and that this is one that I feel like we haven't really gotten, and it's one. Well, technically we have gotten, but I feel like you could really play with it because this is the new era. And that is, we're bringing back Resident Evil. But this is how I would do it. You see, for this, it wouldn't be like the Raccoon City era. This would be the new era. This would be Biohazard. Yeah, Resident Evil Biohazard is... You could easily see that as a house in Halloween Horror Nights. You could totally see that as a house in Resident Evil. That would be... I think you could do a lot with the family. I think you could do a lot with the scares. And who knows, maybe you could make it a double house and make it part Biohazard, part Village. Though, honestly, I think Village could carry its own. But, honestly, if you wanted to try something, Resident Evil Biohazard, I think, would be perfect. So, there you go. I think we are about halfway through. So let's talk about the next 5. The next one is one that has been teased so many goddamn times. It has been teased so many times, and I think it's high time that it finally shows up here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Scream. I think it's high time to bring in Ghostface, because we have got so many times we've had Ghostface appear, like, teased. There was one point where we were going to get a Scream house, but the Paramount just kind of said fuck you at the last second, and they had to scramble. So I think that this could totally work. I think this could totally work. The scare actors wouldn't be too hard. It would just be using Ghostface. And I think how you could utilize it is do the first movie, or really play with the whole movie aspect, and maybe have it that it's a new story, and it's like it's like kind of like Scream 3 in that you're going into a stab movie set, but it turns out it's a new Scream. It's like the Scream Ghostface is killing people in there. So kind of take a lot from that, from Scream 3, which I know, not the greatest film, but I think that would be a fun meta way to do that. So let's finally bring Ghostface. He's the only horror icon, well, one of the horror icons who hasn't made his appearance yet. Next one is another one who has been vastly like, if you want to talk about horror icons that have not been used in any capacity at Halloween Horror Nights, Pinhead. Like, it's not even like a joke. Like, yeah, Ghostface has never been seen, but he's been teased. Pinhead and the rest of Hellraiser, yeah, that is a no-brainer. Having, like, hooks and chains, like, again, the rights are kind of up in the air, but I will say, just the style of it, just how you could utilize a lot of the original film, how you could use the Cenobites, there's so much you could do. And yeah, I'm surprised in the over 30 years of Halloween Horror Nights, we have not gotten in any way, shape, or form even mention of a Hellraiser house. Is kind of just what the fuck to me. So, moving on is another original monster that I don't think had, like, I think this monster would be cool. It's another cryptid, and that is the Wendigo. This is another one where Universal wouldn't really have to pay for anything. This would be more of, this is and also the design of the Wendigo it could be, like, either the deer head or the antlers or the gangly kind of, like, mutant monster, like the skinny monster with the like bitten off lips. You could actually do like a mixture of the two, like maybe throughout the story. And how I would do it is like it'd be kind of like a set in the 1800s in the north, and it's a blizzard, and you are in a camp. You're in a camp that is slowly being driven to hunger, and some of them turn to cannibalism, and that turns them into Wendigos. So throughout the haunted house, you could have scare actors like slowly becoming more and more like the Wendigo, whether with antlers or whatnot, and the final form Wendigo with like antlers, deer-like and whatnot. It's just the final thing you see. It's like on stilts or like a giant puppet. Who knows? I'm just throwing out the ideas here. So. Next one, the next thing I'm gonna talk about is we're gonna talk about another cryptid, and this one's gonna be a little more. It's gonna be a little more different, because like you're gonna be thinking, well, why don't they just do that? And that is Mothman Membe. Mothman Membe is basically a sauropod type cryptid from the Congo. But how I would do it is not just like Mothman Membe, which would be like huge puppets and whatnot. Here, it would be like a whole, like Mothman Membe, like a lost world kind of thing, where you're being attacked by like dinosaurs or other like lost civilizations, things like that. But then you could just easily say, well, why not just do like their version of Kong or fucking Jurassic Park again. And yeah, you could do that, but I feel like you could get away with so much more if you got to do dinosaurs. Like original dinosaurs or non-IP dinosaurs. Anyway. So, finally, our final one for this video is our next one is another original monster. Well, original in the sense that it's another cryptid, but they were really good at the cryptid houses. That's why I keep bringing them up. Also, don't have to pay for IP. That's the other thing. And that monster, while we have talked about Bigfoot and the others, and while I would say Loch Ness would be cool, I don't know how they could utilize just the lake. And I know I talked about puppets and whatnot, but you would have to be on like a lake area or something, or I don't know how you could make a like standing on a lake, or maybe have it that, and it's not the Loch Ness Monster, but maybe you could have that the Loch Ness Monster is attacking a town that's killed like its mate or child. Maybe you could do that, but that's a lot of money, and I know I said like what game of maybe they could do it, but still. But this one would be a little easier, but the thing of it is, it's a much... it would be cool to utilize. That is the Beast of Bray Road. The Beast of Bray Road would be a very cool monster. They haven't done a lot with werewolves, and when they did, it's usually like the Wolfman or American Werewolf from London. I think it would be really cool to utilize like a lot of the Dogman myths, and maybe set it that this is like somewhere in Wisconsin. You could have it like it's some bar or like some place that's gathering to meet cryptids, and one of them turns out to be the werewolf, the Beast of Bray Road, and just proceeds, and you're following the carnage as the werewolf is like killing everyone. Maybe something like that. But anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below, what are 10 monsters, IP or not, IP, cryptid, mythology, any of those, what would you like to see at Halloween Horror Nights and get their own haunted houses? Just comment below, let me know. Once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.